Hello, my name is Scott Morris, and welcome to Classical Guitar Complete. This is the video companion to my newly published book, Classical Guitar Complete, From Basics to Bach. And I'm here at GSI, Guitar Salon International, in Santa Monica, California. The way I'm going to do this is, there are a number of different pieces in my book. Each video blog is going to be based on one of those in an important issue that classical guitarists have to deal with. Right hand, left hand, interpretation, all sorts of technical issues. And I'll pick a piece that is appropriate for each one of those issues. And through this series, hopefully encourage you to go further into those. The first piece we're actually going to do is a piece called, appropriately enough, Leccion Primera, or First Lesson. It's by Fernando Ferrandier. He's a very little known composer. He wrote a book in 1799, which was actually, interestingly enough, one of the very first books, if not the first book, published for guitar players to learn how to play from music, rather than tablature, which was the case for all of the 18th century for plucked string instruments, including the lute. So we're going to be talking about notation as well as some left hand issues. And hopefully you'll find this informative and enjoyable. The first thing I'd like to talk about with this piece, first it's on page 59 in my book, Classical Guitar Complete, is just notation. And I know it's kind of a dry subject, but it can also be kind of a confusing subject. If you look at this piece, or if you don't have the book, I'm sure you can find the piece somewhere. The first 12 measures or so are just written as straight quarter notes, but you don't really play it that way. The first measure, just quarter notes, you actually play like this. So you hear that little C major chord. And if you were to write out literally what the notation would be there, well, that first note there you'd have to write as a whole note to hold for 4 beats, and the E here is a dotted half to hold for 3, the G is a half note to hold for 2, and then the only quarter note would be that C at the end. Well, that's way too complicated and nobody wants to deal with that, and reading music is already hard enough. So they write it in a simplified way, and that is just with straight quarter notes. The reason I'm telling you this is sometimes what the notation seems to suggest may not exactly be what it actually is. So just use your ear and your best judgment, and you can make these little discoveries as you go through. Now, the first part of this piece, I'll play a little bit more here. Again, all in quarter notes, but you'll hear that I'm holding some things out and some things I'm letting go. Okay, so you hear some implied baselines there. Measures 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, they're just written as quarter notes, and I've just used my ear and decided that I really like the sound of that, and it's an implied whole note there, even though it's written as a quarter note. So I know it's a little bit confusing, but after a while you get used to this sort of thing. One other issue here, just a technical thing I'd like to mention, is in measure 8. And it's this: if you watch my left hand, so I have to keep that C down. That's going to stay down. But I have to get that low F there, and it seems like kind of a strange thing to do, but what you want to do is take that second finger, that middle finger, and sort of reach back and grab it like that. It's not the most obvious thing to do at first, but you know, the alternative is this. And you don't want to do that. The next thing is, there are just two more things I'd like to talk about in this piece. One is the little position shift here to some chords. Right there, so that sounds simple, but it's actually pretty hard. The only thing I'd really like to say about that is, the first thing you want to do is always practice just sort of moving from one chord to the next. Define the choreography of the left hand. But once you can sort of play like block chords pretty legato like that, you want to do this. This will save you. So I only worry about getting that bass note down first. That doesn't come until the next beat. You don't need to get them all down at the same time. Then you put them down when you need them. As a general rule, that'll make your left hand so much easier. Now, the really hard part in this piece is this little bit right here. So this starts on measure 14. And I really love this little bit here. It kind of reminds me of the old spider exercise. So here's the issue with this. If we just look at this left hand, and I'll make this quick. You want to base your left hand fingerings on two things: availability and positioning. If you just remember those two things, you'll be fine. And really think about your left hand. Don't just throw whatever together, because you want it to be easy and smooth. So here's the way I worked this out. I've got these descending octaves, those F's right there. Okay, so I've got to get that E next. Well, if I'm using 1 and 3 here, 2 is all ready to go. It doesn't make sense to go down to 3 like a lot of people do that. But now you've dragged your hand out of position. So go down to 2, and then I'm going to use 3 here to get that D. So I'm going to prepare it, get that ready. You may be tempted to use 4 there, but that'll mess you up when you go for that low C sharp. So if you watch my left hand, prepare 2, prepare 3. 3 goes down. I'm going to prepare 4 and 2 for the C sharps, and then now 3 is ready for that F. Then all the fingers sort of fall in place there. So I'm using the fingers that are available, number 1, and I'm also using the fingers that are in the proper position. And if you do that sort of thing, it'll make playing the guitar, I think, a much more enjoyable and less frustrating experience. So I hope you found this useful, and I'm happy to follow up on a lot of these ideas in the future. And until next time.